Hi guys, welcome back to the second video today. I'm sorry that the background is so light and I'm so dark or whatever, but I guess that's okay. Anyway, my second review for today is another of Plato's dialogues, the Protagoras. And I know I've read this. I bought this. I bought this recently, but in reading it, I know I've read this before, or it's so much like another dialogue I've read before. And then I realized I must have read this before. And in fact, up on my bookshelf, I saw that I already had a copy. And in fact, I did explore all my bookshelves to see if I had one. And then I failed to note that in my bedroom, I have this volume here, which has the Ion, the Hippias Minor, Laches, and Protagoras in it. I'm going to be reading Ion today. So expect a review of the Ion to come. It's one of Plato's shortest dialogues, if not the shortest. Anyway, so for the Protagoras, is a bit reminiscent, and in fact, it's a pretty good accompaniment for the one I just did, the Phaedrus, because here again, Plato, is talking about orators, oration, rhetoric, and Protagoras himself was a well-known public figure, speaker, teacher of public speaking, kind of like their way, like almost legal formation or political formation in Athens at the time. So if you could give a good speech, then you're basically, closest thing to a lawyer, closest thing to a politician, right? So it was the preferred method of training for wealthier people, wealthier young men in Athens. It's kind of like going to law school today, I guess. So Protagoras was a public speaker, and the subject of this book isn't speaking per se. It is, frankly, virtue. And so in the common collision of Socrates against the sophists or the rhetoricians or whatever, the orators, in the common collision, we have Plato wanting to talk about real truth and orators wanting to talk about appearing to be true, right? So a rhetorician isn't concerned about what's true. He's concerned with making people think something's true, making something appear true. But that's the difference. That's the essential thing that Socrates and Plato are concerned about, is not what seems true, but what is true, right? So Socrates or Plato does a really masterful job in confronting this Protagoras and basically in asking him questions about the different virtues, say courage, wisdom, justice, patience, whatever. He basically gets Protagoras, leads him down a path where Socrates proves that all virtue is knowledge. Okay, so, and this is something that I've had to really think about. Like this is a very central Socratic belief, is that virtue is knowledge and knowledge is virtue. And that's something that Christians wouldn't follow, because we have original sin, and we have to acknowledge that we really don't have a hold on truth, and we're not very committed to it by nature or by fallen nature. We're not committed to truth. We are committed to our passions. Our sight is limited. Our will is sort of like a wild horse, right? So Plato basically is able to take Protagoras' inconsistencies about the different virtues and whittle him down, and to make him realize that knowledge is, that virtue is knowledge. So it's not being brave or what word does he use? Brave or daring. That courage and daring are not nearly the same thing, and that the difference between daring, which is just wanting to do something regardless of the consequences, and courage is a real virtue because it involves knowledge of what to do, how to be courageous. That and then he's able to do that for all the virtues and arrive at the conclusion that it's not a feeling, it's not a unrelated trait of a person, but it is knowledge. So I know it's really difficult. It's really difficult for me as well to accept this, because there's a part of me that says, being from the Christian world, that it's not enough to know something to do something. But Socrates will say, then you really don't know what it is. The thing is then, because acting in your own self-interest, and this is essential, and this is what he does also in the Gorgias dialogue, which I reviewed on this channel too, is that Socrates says that you pursue, if virtue isn't knowledge, then you pursue apparent goods and not real goods. And you think something's in your best interest, or you think something's in the best interest of the community or of your salvation or whatever, but it's not really. But you think it is. And so one of the corollaries of that is that we never do anything intentionally to harm ourselves or to disadvantage ourselves. Take the example of drug addiction. Someone who's addicted to whatever, heroin or cocaine, they see that their good consists in that feeling, because all they want to do is take away the bad withdrawal feeling and give them the positive endorphin feeling or whatever, right? So even in that very negative case, they are choosing their good, right? So someone who's fighting against his addiction chooses the good not to take the heroin, and someone not fighting their addiction chooses the good to take heroin. And he says that the only difference between the two is that one doesn't know that that's not really in his right interest, or in his interest, and the other one does know. So therefore, the difference between drug addiction and temperance is knowledge, right? So the only difference between doing something that's harmful and doing something that's beneficial is the difference of knowledge. So virtue must be knowledge. Okay, so that's the dialogue in a nutshell. It's another one of these, 50, 60, 70 page reads, and really requires you to think, and really requires you to follow along. So I think I've summed it up pretty good here. And now, if you're a Christian, take what he said here, go back and read St. Paul's letter to the Romans, or read St. Augustine, St. Augustine's Confessions, or any of his works against the Pelagians, where he discusses the will, right? So, there you go. Thanks, guys. I'm having a nice walk in nature here, and I hope to be back soon. And you guys have a great day. Bye now.